Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be, and welcome to a post on science popularization. It's called False Puzzles, False Promises. Science popularizers are guilty of providing a bad education when they promote the idea that there are these new special people who are coming up with new ideas rather than rediscovering ideas that have been understood throughout a large fraction of human history. These special people are given awards for expressing these ideas in their own private languages and for failing to notice that they are saying the same thing that someone else just said 5 minutes ago, or that someone else just said 500 years ago. I provide a link below in the post to an article in Quantum Magazine entitled "The First Support for a Physics Theory of Life." Apparently a young man back in 2013 had the brilliant new insight that life is a natural consequence of thermodynamics and entropy. He discovered this in 2013 and has been working feverishly on it ever since then within the confines of an academic asylum. So, this is the first time anyone's ever realized that life is a natural consequence of thermodynamics and entropy? My gosh. Personally, I think that whenever we start elevating someone and telling them that they're special, it's a sign that the institutions are feeding off of myopic, egotistical energy and collecting dipshits, like so many playing cards, knowing that those people will work very hard if they are praised, and if they are dumb enough, they will never figure out what it is that they are really working on and why they are being given a subsistence living to work on it. The thing is that most people who were paying attention in their high school or college classroom learned that life is a negative entropy system, and if nobody ever asks them questions about the relationship between life and entropy, they will never decide to tell everyone what they learned. For example, in the language of quantum entropy, when you see an object organize itself after an application of energy, you are, in some sense, watching time flow backwards locally. A leaf growing out into space is a manifestation of time flowing backward. And when your body gives energy to your mind so that it organizes itself to access memories, time is flowing backwards in your mind, but you experience this as time flowing forwards because this flow is you. I mean, these are all just riffing on basic definitions from physics and thermodynamics. And when I went on Quora, those sorts of questions were the only reason that I bothered to take a moment to search my memory for the sorts of stories I was told in a classroom 20 years ago. And what shocked me was that a lot of times I was the only one who seemed to remember some of the stories, and it made me worry that because of the internet, people are only remembering keywords and they're forgetting the stories, which would be really sad. Because what's written in textbooks and the sort of tradition that was carried on within the classroom, they conveyed slightly different information. It was like, you get context in the classroom, and then you get just the facts in the textbook, but you need both to understand it. It's a sort of decryption process that might be lost. But In this article, my point is that most popular science discoveries are not revealing for the first time a brand new or complicated idea. They are merely announcing a reformulation or repetition of an old idea that takes a bit of time and thought to understand. Why does the popular science media want us to believe that the connection between life and entropy was discovered by a young man just last year, as this article from the Quantum magazine suggests? Why do I get the feeling that a recent Nobel Prize for topology was given for turning something simple into something seemingly impenetrably complex? Why do I get the feeling that another article I linked to below consisted of a group of students who had convinced themselves that they had just invented the wheel? Personally, I think that the illusion that scientific research is evergreen needs to stop, because it is designed to dupe people who are easily duped into jumping onto a hamster wheel and running at full speed until they collapse. Maybe these hamster wheels prevent these people from becoming serial killers, but personally, I think it is cruel to put someone on a hamster wheel with the illusion that they are actually going to get somewhere with their efforts. There is a reason that research is called research. It means to search again and understand again all of the things that people in the past understood. And when we discover old truths and mistake them for something new, we are demonstrating that our culture is in a state of collapse and that the narrative we are passing on to the next generation has degenerated to a frightening degree. Even the editors of Quantum magazine, probably one of the best pop sci magazines we have right now, they can't agree on which narrative they are supposed to be promoting. I have a link to a discussion between their editors. And it's hard to blame them for being confused, because every year we get a new discovery about gravity, which just amounts to a rebranding of an older idea in a private language that was invented by some dipshit. You may think that I'm being unnecessarily lewd, but dipshit is an excellent word. It signifies that a person enjoys the smell of their own excrement. I mean, if you think you just discovered something, you should be embarrassed. It means that you haven't spent enough time in the library. And I don't think that you need to wait until you track down the source of the idea in the library before you can tell anyone about it, this Easter egg you found. I just think that students should be far more humble about their discoveries. So when it comes to these topics, I'm always in a mood. I'm always complaining about popular science and bad experimental design. But there are a lot of people who are very confused by the narrative the popular science or sci-com industry has been promoting in past decades. Maybe they read Lee Smolin's book or Voigt's book, and they were confused by the insistence that there is a great mystery associated with black holes and general relativity, or quantum mechanics even. Most of them never consider the possibility that the mystery is a fraud used to draw their attention and waste their time. Most of them never considered that the solution to the mystery has been known since the mystery was created, and that the true purpose of the mystery was to get large numbers of people to spin in endless circles, talking past one another as they shoot their solutions to the mystery into the void of the internets. They all sing out in their own private languages. Did you know that general relativity does not conserve energy? How could anyone think that a theory that does not conserve energy could be blended with a quantum theory that does conserve energy? How could anyone think that theories that define space and time in different ways could be blended together? In short, the black hole puzzle is itself an intellectual black hole, designed to eat the mental energy of all who fall into its embrace. The solution is so simple it is embarrassing to anyone who sees it. A substantial fraction of those who read about popular science mysteries of physics will identify a wrong assumption, feel like a genius, and then go out on the internets to tell everyone that they have figured out the mystery, only to discover that no one cares because the system is designed to teach nonsense. Many people end up feeling irritated to discover that they've been tricked by a bunch of popular science jerks whose primary purpose is to distribute mental malware that absorbs the attention of people who like puzzles. Then again, without assholes, we'd all be full of shit. I just find it strange that the physics system cleanses itself of its waste by distributing it upon the lay public like so much manure. A toilet would be more civilized, and when you pile uncomposted manure into a garden, nothing can grow. I mean, I don't know if you've ever had a cat try to, a cat decide to make your flower bed into its cat box, and then all your flowers die. It's kind of like that. Popular science art authors, the fresh byproducts of research should not be fed to the public without first composting them. And that is not happening these days. We're getting a fresh off the presses interpretation of fresh crap, which is research. Popular science authors need to learn this principle. Otherwise, the sense that physicists wallow in muck, it will persist, and useful byproducts of the endeavor will never, ever take root and grow. So I gave an example of a reader who had one of these general relativity epiphanies where he just realized this is all nonsense. And he went through and he really thoroughly went through and technically identified flaws at all the different levels. And the thing is, you can do this from so many different angles, and the result is invariably tedious when it's done correctly. But I don't like doing it personally, and that's probably the reason why I left physics. And it does bother me to find out that the education I paid for, both monetarily and with my time, that it is a time sink subsidized by the government, used to absorb the attention of people who could be doing something better with their time. And I'm sure that the reason they're doing this is they're thinking that all of these people would have been building bombs in their basements otherwise, so it's better to put them to work building a 1.5 ton rover for Mars. I mean, that's heavy. Did they really launch that? I mean, I'm a little bit skeptical about the weight of that thing. There's something fishy there, seriously. And then they called the project, what was it, perseveration? Or perseverance? It's kind of like a double meaning there. So, I mean, I'm sure that there's somebody who sees this is all for the greater good, educating young people to think and contribute to civilization. But when they're being systematically miseducated on several levels, that miseducation can bleed out into other areas of our civilization and cause disastrous effects. And I think we've already seen evidence of this in several places. Banking crises created by quants trying to create bizarre financial instruments based on ideas they probably got from their physics education. And in medicine, diagnostic tools that may end up diagnosing a child with leukemia who didn't have leukemia. So I am concerned that unintended consequences will fall out of our efforts to keep people busy doing something that seems productive, but that really is just feeding a lot of people's delusions of grandeur. I think it's dishonest. I think that when the students ever figure out that they've been misled in this way, that there's a backlash that's bad. And I mean, video games are obvious wastes of time, but it's honest. The people know what they're doing. They know they're wasting their time. But that's not the case with physics research today. They're lured in and then they're put to work on these myopic pursuits like ostriches with their heads buried in the sand and studying grains of sand and hiding from all the scary things in the world. And I really think that it would have been kinder to just, calm them down and let them deal with their fears through more fanciful pursuits. The book Hard Times by Charles Dickens gives a picture like that, of that sort of ideal, where he thinks these educational systems that focus on facts, that they intellectually and just emotionally cripple people, and that the world opens up for those people and they become happier when they're able to deal with their fears and feelings through more fanciful means. And that's why I started writing novels, and I hope that people take a look at them and read more novels to expand the number of dimensions in which they can think and prevent them from over-focusing. I've gone on too long, but thank you for watching. I hope you tune into my other videos. I've made about 160 of them, and they range on over all kinds of topics, and I think that there's something for everybody in them. Until next time.